Do you know, even as we sit here talking about it, I'm so glad to be on the other side of it. This has been the hardest thing we have ever done.
Yeah.
Hi guys, we've been talking about doing this video for a while because there's been some pretty large life changes within the last 6 months that we thought we should address on the channel, because you're gonna see in the videos things changing a little bit. So yeah, firstly, we have moved from Los Angeles. We're in Ireland now. We moved back home, how long ago?
2 months ago?
2 months ago.
Back where we started.
We're back where we started, yeah. So we're back home, like 10 minutes from my family, very close to home. And the biggest life changes are to move a house and to have a baby. And we've done both of those things within the last like 8 months. And we also threw in moving a whole other country as well into the mix in a pandemic. So it's been
a lot.
It's been a lot. But one of the biggest questions we've been getting on like social media and stuff is, why did we leave LA? And I think it's been probably the hardest question to answer, because it's so multifaceted. And you know, I think on one level we didn't want to leave LA, and then on another level we really wanted to leave LA for, you know, to be closer to family and stuff like that. But
yeah, I think that's what the major reason was when I was pregnant with Oliver. We were back here for the summer, and we realized how nice it was to have grandparents around and friends and, you know, aunts and uncles. And it was just such a sweet few weeks. And then leaving and being pregnant was a very emotional experience. And then
she was in bits.
I was. But I think coming back to LA, then you realized how much life is going to change. Adding another baby and all your traveling that you had to do, because we were so far from, you know, some of the work was here, some of the work was in the States. So it's a lot of moving for you. For the last 10 years, I've traveled for different TV shows or work abroad or in London or LA, whatever. For the first time, I was resenting travel, and I really hated having to get on the plane and know what I was leaving behind, and know that it was extra pressure on Sophie, but also that I had to do the work. And so when I was doing the work, I was even feeling like stressed because I was away and everyone was under pressure. Like there was one, do you remember that time we did a press tour in Asia for Donal's Meals and Minutes, this TV show that BBC Asia had bought. And at some point on the very last day of like a full week's travel there, I was singing Row, Row, Row Your Boat down the phone. Like, I don't know how to settle him. Nothing was working. He was so upset. It was just, I started getting really anxious and stressed, and I didn't know what to do. So I kind of called Donal in a panic, going like, please just sing down the phone on the app. And it worked. It worked. And then when we did have that trip back home, it was just like, oh, that feels like a big hug, and everything feels safe and sound, and we have all the people like that we want around us. And you know, obviously we have such amazing friends and made such great connections in LA, but you know, a lot of our friends had kids the same age, so there was, you know, it was always hard to lean on other people because they were all, you know, they were always taken up with kids. They were in the same boat as us. Yes, so, everyone was struggling. Being a parent is tough. Being a parent is tough. But I think I have to admit that I think I was probably the main force in making the move happen. But in general, I'm the one who drags my feet anyway. Like if we're on holiday, I'll be the one sitting in the swimming pool about 2 hours before we need to leave to go to the airport. Well, I check out. Donal's walking up to get his last shower. That's usually because I love and it was kind of the same thing moving house. Yeah, it was very much like that moving house. I kind of like to hold on to the last, like savor the last moments in a place. But yeah, so I suppose like the kind of the catalyst was just having that support system and being closer to home. And like I think, you know, after 5 years in LA, we had such a great time. We kind of felt that it was time to give Ireland a little bit of a go, and also for us to be closer to family, and the ease for you to be able to kind of go back to Sweden as well. Yeah, that was a big thing that I just wanted to be able to get on a flight if something happened or a birthday or something. And that wasn't really possible from LA. I think to round this whole thing up, we moved back because we wanted to be closer to family. We moved back because we needed help, basically. We had Noah had just started preschool before we left, and so we had kind of got a taste of like what normal like parent life is. Yeah, but then. Speaking of normal parent life, there's Oliver. Will I go get him? Yeah. Okay. Now, someone we have not introduced to the channel before now is our little buddy Oliver, who is now, what, 6 months? Yeah, just turned 6 months. He's 6 months old. He's full of smiles. And he's
a lump. Aren't you a lump?
He's already started crawling a little bit.
Yeah, he's kind of doing like an army crawl.
Eating a little bit.
He started eating. We're not getting chat out of him yet, but it's probably early days. He's full of life.
Yeah.
And Noah gets on great with him, apart from when he steals his toys, or if Oliver's like grabbing for his toys. He's not a big fan.
No, he's gonna have to get used to that.
Yeah, I think we need to work on sharing. In fact, the funny thing is, like, when we talked about coming back, we talked about coming back for like an extended period of time, maybe like 6 months or 3 months, maybe for the summer. But I think from that perspective, like, we hadn't fully committed to the idea of being back here and like fully being home in Ireland, so that we'd kind of cross over between LA and Ireland.
Yeah, but so we started talking about it September.
Yeah.
Oliver was born in end of November.
Yeah.
So we knew we didn't want to do anything over Christmas. And then, like you said, it was hard knowing really how long we wanted to go for. And my granddad turned 90, so that was a big thing we wanted to try and come back for. And then in the middle of all of this deciding, COVID-19 happened.
But we have flights booked though.
Yes, we did have flights booked for the end of April. And then all the flights started getting cancelled and flight routes changed.
When we were in LA when COVID hit, we were so far away from the idea of moving out of our house and moving across, the transatlantic flights and all that. It was so far from what we had done. I had like in my head, I was going to say goodbye to the city, go to all my favorite restaurants, do, all these great things.
Yeah, and spend lots of time with friends before we left. And then when the lockdown happened, that changed. It changed everything, and we weren't in control of how we got to say goodbye to the house or the city or friends, and it was
that was probably the hardest part of it, because I think it went from an idea that we were going to leave and do it all on our own terms, and then all of a sudden everything was being pushed forward, everything was being escalated. All of a sudden, like, I rang the Irish consulate and she was kind of advising us that if we wanted to leave, we'd need to leave sooner rather than later, because flights were going to be cancelled and routes were going to be changed. And so literally our plan just kind of went out the window, and we realized very quickly that we needed to leave as soon as possible rather than just waiting around, which meant my worst fear, which is having to rush to leave. I need to do it slow and need to take my time with it. And literally, like, Sophie was incredible at just wrapping it up and, like, all of a sudden being on top of the lists.
I think I was going to say you were pretty good at taking it easy and dragging it out.
Well, Sophia, let's not save that for camera, okay?
So what had happened too is Noah used to go to school. Trying to pack, in my head, I had the idea that he was going to be in school and that we could pack during the day, but he was home.
That was probably the hardest thing. We packed up a house, 36 boxes, with no childcare at all. It was just us with screaming children, and it was
and the dog
chaos.
And no playgrounds to go to, and it was intense.
Even as we sit here talking about it, I'm so glad to be on the other side of
it.
It was probably like there's the babies, there's been like the moves. This has been the hardest thing we have ever done.
Yeah.
But actually, we should mention that towards the end, so like basically we decided, we got packed, we were on the move, we got Max kind of arranged. Around that time, our good friend Arthur, who was our neighbour in LA, he lived like 10 minutes from us, and all through our time in LA, he was such a big support, him and his husband Brian. Arthur decided that if we were going, he was going, because he knew he didn't know when he'd be able to get out of LA, so he knew he was going to come back. So he actually moved in with us and helped us like cart furniture up and down the stairs.
All that was really easy when you didn't have kids, but then 2 kids and a dog later, it was really difficult to make it work.
So Arthur
saved our ass.
He saved our ass and became like a professional mover, a nanny, a babysitter.
Walker.
He didn't cook. He didn't cook.
No, he did everything else.
He did everything but cook.
The cargo company came, I want to say, like 2 weeks prior to us leaving. So that was all the big stuff left. But then it was, getting all the kids' stuff. Max left the day before. He left LA and then got stuck in London because there was something wrong with the plane. Anyways, Max finally got to Ireland. We had packed up our stuff, got an email that our flight was cancelled in the midst of all this, having to rebook. And then there's this rule that I don't know that a lot of people know of, that if you bring a dog into a country, you have to travel with them within 5 days. So when our flight got cancelled, that really pushed it very close to that 5 days. And then it would have been a whole other thing to bring Max in. So there's so much stress to try and get everything within this tiny little time frame.
feel like this is therapy now.
I know it is.
We're actually getting
I
to
haven't
talk
had a
about
chance to talk
I
about
know.
it. And then the 2 Ubers came.
It's
right?
16 bags. The 2 Uber drivers were in like hazmat suits with masks and goggles, and we were terrified. We were like, because it was that kind of peak period of like anxiety and fear, and it just amplified everything we were going through in terms of like the move, adding this pandemic that we were kind of coping with. That was just, it was so tough.
Yeah.
It was really tough.
We got all the bags into the car, got to the airport, trying to, with 2 cars, find Arthur, who had all the bags. Our car had all the kids. You always had to just problem solve the entire time. Like, how do you get 16 bags, 2 kids and 3 adults from the curb to the check-in desk? Like, it was running back and forth.
I did manage to get a selfie in the midst of
Yeah.
that.
Donal has his priorities.
Exactly. Then, in the midst of it, like when we finally got there, after all of that, we literally had to fight about the weights of the bags. So like you have to like get all the weights right.
We had so many bags. I was trying to not get stroppy because I was like, there is about 50 people on this flight. If I have 2 kilos over, what difference is it going to make? I was about to lose my mind. Thankfully, with kids, you can travel with car seats and strollers, and we were packing all sorts of stuff into those bags as well. So we got there at the end.
We got there in the end.
Okay, so we are about to do security. It is absolutely and completely empty. Literally one line open. This is just crazy town. Martha's got all the passports. Are you ready, Noah? You ready, so?
Ready.
Let's do it. Bonjour.
Bonjour, bienvenue.
Bonjour.
We were fairly terrified of what the flight was going to look like, and you know, being close to people, because I mean, I was on an aisle seat and there was someone right beside me, and I was actually very conscious of it. I think we're working on something here. We couldn't get a direct. Slightly distracted.
Are you doing okay?
You working on something there? So like once we kind of were on the flight, I knew we'd got through the worst of it. And in fairness to the staff, we flew with Air France and they did an amazing job, you know, keeping everyone safe. And it was, you know, that's the thing, like there's so many people who were working through what was going on, you know, and doing it safely and making sure other people were safe. So we were very thankful that we were looked after. But we had to transfer through Paris in the end because there was no direct flights to Dublin anymore.
Is our current situation.
Oh no.
Noah is eating a bit of pasta from a cardboard box. He's practically a street rat at this point. Speaking of street rats, Arthur, how are you getting on?
I love life. What's wrong?
No. Oh, it's exhausting. Okay, you ready to go, Noah? Let's go to Dublin! Woo-hoo-hoo! Arthur! Woo!
I'm boring. Oh my
Jesus!
So anyway, we finally made it back in Dublin. We had like talked through how my parents were going to pick us up because obviously they couldn't see us, so they had to drive their 2 cars separately. They got in one, we got in the other. We had to hand sanitize the whole thing, and it was chaos. So like we had to put bags into their car, and we couldn't actually hug and say hello, even though we hadn't seen them since Christmas. So it was.
Yeah, waving through a window. It's a weird way to say hi.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. And the weirdest thing of all was that we had found a house to come to move to, but we had never seen it. So we had never been inside the house that we were moving into. And so my mom did a FaceTime tour, but beyond that, we kind of like nervously accepted it. And we needed somewhere to stay. We needed somewhere to come home to, and we couldn't come home to my parents' house. So to sum up, we are back in Ireland and we're here for at least the next few months, right?
Yeah, we're not packing another bag for a year.
We're not getting on a plane for at least a while. We need to decompress after the madness that has been, and it's a lovely time to be back, you know, especially for the kids, you know, to be close to family, especially now where things are opening up. And just to say, anyone who's watching, you know, it's been a really tough couple of months for a lot of people, and you know, there's been amazing stories that have come out of it, and we just hope that anyone who's watching is safe and sound and has come through hopefully the worst of it at this point. It's definitely been a challenge for everybody on various different levels. So I hope you're safe and sound. So yeah, I suppose we're back after 5 years in a completely other country. We've changed in many different ways. We have 2 kids.
Yeah.
And I think like on another level, like it was heartbreaking to leave LA because that's where the boys were born. It's where we have some of our, you know, really great friendships were formed, and you know that
Not being able to properly say goodbye
Yeah.
to them was very, very tough.
I think we're in the right place for right now. I keep
Yes.
saying that. That's my slogan at the moment. We're in
Yeah.
the right place for right now. Thanks so much for all the support we've had on social media because it has been a tricky few months. And until then, we're off to Babyland, play with this little buddy. Noah's about to wake up from his nap, so we'll sign off and say goodbye. Bye.
Bye.